Stop. Before you back out of your driveway today, I need you to watch this entire video because as of 2026, 10 driving laws across the United States have either changed, been upgraded, or are now being enforced in ways that most drivers, including people who consider themselves responsible, careful drivers, have absolutely no idea about. And I'm not talking about minor tweaks. I'm talking about laws that can result in a $1,000 fine from a camera you never even saw. I'm talking about technology now built into new cars that can physically prevent you from driving. I'm talking about hands-free laws that used to give you a warning and now give you a ticket on the spot. Most people find out about these changes the hard way, on the side of the road, with a ticket in their hand, and that's exactly why you're watching this right now, because you deserve to know before that happens. Stay with me, because number 3 on this list is the one that is generating the most conversation nationwide, and I can almost guarantee you have not heard the full story on it yet. My name is Raymond Crivello. I'm a senior traffic law analyst and policy consultant, and on this channel I break down complex regulatory and legislative changes into clear, fact-based analysis that everyday drivers can actually understand and apply. Quick but important note before we get started, I am not your attorney, and nothing in this video constitutes legal advice. This content is strictly for educational and informational purposes. If you've received a citation or have a specific legal situation, please consult a licensed attorney in your state. Now, let's get into it. Law number 1, nationwide hands-free enforcement, and the grace period is officially over. Here's the background you need. For the past several years, many states across the country had what are called secondary enforcement hands-free laws. That meant an officer could only cite you for holding your phone if they had already pulled you over for something else, a speeding violation, a lane change, a broken taillight. The phone itself wasn't enough. That has changed. As of 2026, the grace periods that multiple states had built into their hands-free statutes have expired, and holding a phone while driving is now classified as a primary offense in the majority of U.S. states. That means a law enforcement officer can pull you over for that reason alone. No other violation needed, just the phone in your hand. And the fines are not small. Depending on your state, a first offense can range from $150 to over $300. A second offense in some jurisdictions pushes past $500. And in states like California, Georgia, and Washington, those fines come with points on your driving record, which directly impacts your insurance premium. The practical implication here is simple but critical. A phone mount is no longer optional equipment. It is protective equipment. Even if you're at a red light, even if you're in stop-and-go traffic, even if you're just checking a notification for 2 seconds, if that phone is in your hand, you are now in violation of primary enforcement law in most of the country. Set it in the cup holder. Use the mount. Use Bluetooth. The law has no patience for exceptions anymore. Law number 2, AI-powered cameras that can see inside your vehicle. This one surprises people, and I understand why. Most of us think of traffic cameras as red light cameras, stationary devices that photograph your license plate when you run a light. That technology is decades old at this point. What's being deployed in 2026 is fundamentally different. Several states and municipalities have begun installing AI-assisted detection cameras that use high-resolution imaging combined with machine learning software to identify specific driver behaviors. These cameras can detect whether a driver is holding a phone, they can detect whether a seatbelt is being worn. Some models are being tested for distracted driving patterns based on head position, and here is the part that catches people completely off guard. The ticket does not require a police officer to witness the violation. The camera records the event. The image is reviewed, either by an automated system or a human reviewer, and the citation is mailed directly to the registered owner of the vehicle. You don't get pulled over, you don't get a warning, you get a letter in the mail, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks after the fact, with photographic evidence attached. Now, there are legitimate due process questions being raised about this technology in several states, and some jurisdictions are still in pilot phases. But the direction is clear. This infrastructure is being expanded, not reduced. And if you're driving in a major metro area, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Houston, Seattle, there is a meaningful chance these systems are already operating on roads you use regularly. The practical takeaway, assume you are visible at all times, because increasingly, you are. Now, law number 3, and I want you to pay close attention here, because this is the change that is generating the most widespread reaction and the most confusion. As mandated under the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, all new passenger vehicles manufactured after a specific compliance date must be equipped with passive alcohol detection technology. This is not a breathalyzer. This is not something you blow into. This is passive, meaning the system monitors without requiring any action from the driver. How does it work? There are two primary methods being developed and now required. The first is a touch-based sensor, typically integrated into the ignition button or the steering wheel, that reads blood alcohol content through skin contact. The second is an air quality sensor inside the cabin that detects the concentration of alcohol in the breathing air near the driver's seat. If either sensor detects a blood alcohol concentration at or above the legal limit of 0.08, the vehicle will not start. Or if it detects an impairment level while the vehicle is already in motion, it will activate warnings and in some configurations begin a controlled deceleration sequence. Now, I want to be precise about the timeline here because this is where a lot of misinformation is circulating. This mandate applies to new vehicle models going into production under the compliance schedule. If you own a vehicle that was manufactured before this requirement took effect, your car is not being retrofitted. You are not required to install anything. This affects new car buyers and new vehicle inventory, but here's where this becomes critical for a broader audience. If you are shopping for a new car in 2026 or beyond, you need to understand that this technology is now a standard federal requirement, not an optional package. And if you are a rideshare driver, a commercial operator, or someone whose livelihood depends on driving, you need to understand how this system interacts with prescription medications, with mouthwash, with hand sanitizers, because the technology is still being calibrated and there are documented cases in testing where false readings occurred. The automotive industry lobbied significantly against this mandate during the rulemaking process, and implementation details are still being finalized by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. There will almost certainly be legal challenges, technical refinements, and updated guidance issued over the coming months. But the policy direction from Congress is unambiguous. Passive alcohol detection in new vehicles is not a proposal anymore. It is federal law. Let me give you a real-world scenario to illustrate why this matters. Imagine a small business owner in his mid-40s. He drives a newer model vehicle. He had a glass of wine with dinner, one glass, and it's been over an hour. By the time he gets to his car, his BAC is almost certainly below the legal threshold. But depending on the sensitivity calibration of his vehicle's sensor, and depending on how recently he used a hand sanitizer, there's a non-zero possibility that the system flags him. He's not drunk, he's not impaired, but his car won't start, and he has a client meeting in 40 minutes. That scenario is not hypothetical fear-mongering. It's a documented concern raised by automotive engineers, consumer advocates, and the National Motorists Association during the comment period on this rule. And it underscores why, as a driver, you need to understand not just that this technology exists, but how it works, what its limitations are, and what your rights are if you believe a system has malfunctioned. Keep watching, because the remaining laws on this list affect your wallet, your record, and in some cases, your ability to drive at all. Law number 4, California's new $1,000 license plate fine, Assembly Bill 1085. Effective January 1, 2026, California enacted one of the strictest license plate obstruction laws in the country. Any device, cover, frame, spray coating, or physical modification that obscures a license plate from automated toll cameras or red light cameras is now subject to a fine of up to $1,000 per violation. This is not a new concept. Plate obstruction laws have existed for years. What is new is the severity of the penalty and the explicit targeting of anti-camera technology. Products that were previously sold openly, plate covers with tinted overlays, rotating plate mechanisms, reflective sprays, are now illegal in California under this statute, and the fine structure is designed to be punitive, not just corrective. If you're a California driver and you have any kind of aftermarket addition to your license plate area, remove it. The risk-reward calculation on a $1,000 fine does not favor keeping it. Law number 5, automated speed enforcement expansion in school and work zones. Several states, including New York, Illinois, Colorado, and Oregon, have significantly expanded their automated speed camera programs specifically in designated school zones and active construction zones. In previous years, these programs operated on warning-first systems. You'd receive a notice before a fine. Those warning periods have now ended in most participating jurisdictions. The fine structure varies by state, but the pattern is consistent. First offense typically runs between $50 and $150, second offense doubles, and subsequent violations can trigger license suspension proceedings. Importantly, these citations go to the registered vehicle owner, not necessarily the driver, which creates complications for households with multiple drivers or company vehicles. If you regularly pass through school zones during drop-off or pickup hours, or if you drive through active highway construction zones, this directly affects you. The cameras are operational, the warning period is over, and the revenue data from these programs shows enforcement is active and consistent. Law number 6. Updated commercial vehicle weight and inspection requirements along interstate corridors. This one is particularly relevant if you operate a commercial vehicle or if you work in logistics, delivery, or trucking. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration updated its inspection protocols effective in 2026, specifically around electronic logging device verification, brake system standards, and load weight documentation at state line inspection stations. Non-compliance penalties have increased substantially, and several states have added random roadside inspection programs that operate independently of traditional weigh stations. If you're a commercial driver or fleet manager, this requires an updated compliance review with your operations team. The specifics vary by vehicle class and cargo type, so a qualified transportation attorney or compliance consultant is your best resource here. But here's where this becomes critical for non-commercial drivers as well. If you drive a large pickup truck, a 3/4 ton or 1 ton vehicle, and you use it for towing or hauling, some of these updated weight classification rules may affect how your vehicle is categorized at certain inspection points, particularly in states like Texas, California, and Florida, where agricultural and construction hauling is common. Know your GVWR, know what you're towing, and make sure your trailer registration reflects accurate weight classifications. Law number 7, expanded school bus stop arm camera enforcement. School bus stop arm violations, passing a stopped school bus with its red lights flashing and stop arm extended, have historically been difficult to enforce because they often occur without a police officer present. In 2026, automated camera systems mounted directly on school buses have been authorized in a significant number of additional states, bringing the total number of states with active bus-mounted camera enforcement to over 30. These systems record the violation, capture the license plate, and generate an automated citation. Fine amounts range from $250 to $1,000 depending on jurisdiction, and multiple violations within a calendar year can result in license suspension in certain states. The emotional weight of this law is straightforward: children's safety, and the legal enforcement is catching up to that moral clarity. If you are passing stopped school buses, even when you believe the road configuration allows it, even when you think traffic on your side is separate from the bus side, you need to review your state's specific statute, because the rules around divided highways and multi-lane roads vary, and the cameras do not account for confusion. They record what they see. Law number 8, new EV-specific road usage fees. This is a relatively quiet but financially significant change. As electric vehicles have grown as a share of the total vehicle fleet, states that fund road maintenance through gasoline tax revenue have faced a growing shortfall because EV drivers pay no gas tax. In 2026, over 20 states have implemented or expanded road usage charge programs specifically for electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. These fees are typically assessed annually at vehicle registration and range from $50 to over $200 per year, depending on the state and vehicle type. If you drive an EV and you haven't checked your state's current registration fee structure, there's a meaningful chance your renewal cost has increased. California, Texas, Washington, and Florida have all updated their EV fee structures going into 2026. This isn't a penalty for driving clean, it's a road funding mechanism, but it's a real cost change that many EV owners haven't accounted for in their annual budgeting. Law number 9, enhanced crosswalk yielding enforcement with automated detection. In coordination with federal Safe Streets funding, several cities and states have updated their yielding to pedestrian laws and paired those updates with automated enforcement systems at high-incident crosswalk locations. Under these updated statutes, failing to yield to a pedestrian who is in or entering a marked crosswalk is now subject to fines ranging from $200 to $500, and in some jurisdictions, the first offense carries a mandatory defensive driving course requirement. This matters particularly in urban environments and college towns where pedestrian traffic is high. The key legal standard in most states is not whether the pedestrian has stepped off the curb, it's whether they are approaching the crosswalk with clear intent to cross. If a pedestrian is standing at the corner and appears to be waiting to cross, yielding is legally required in many updated state statutes, even before they step into the road. This is one of those laws where good habits and legal compliance fully align. Slow down near crosswalks. Yield early. The cameras and the fines are real, but more importantly, so are the people crossing the street. And law number 10, drowsy driving, moving from awareness to enforcement. This is the most forward-looking change on this list. and in some ways the most significant for long-term driving policy. Several states have begun implementing enhanced drowsy driving enforcement protocols following updated guidance from the National Transportation Safety Board. While drowsy driving has long been recognized as a factor in serious accidents, the NTSB estimates it contributes to thousands of fatal crashes annually. Prosecution has historically been difficult because there was no equivalent of a breathalyzer for fatigue. In 2026, law enforcement in participating states has been given updated training and statutory authority to charge drivers with reckless driving when evidence of drowsiness is present, including vehicle data recorder information showing erratic speed and lane behavior, combined with driver admission or witness accounts. Some states are also beginning to incorporate eye tracking data from newer vehicle safety systems as potential evidence in crash investigations. This is still an evolving area of law. The evidentiary standards are not fully settled. Court challenges are likely. But the policy signal is clear. Drowsy driving is being treated with increasing legal seriousness, and the infrastructure to support enforcement, both technological and statutory, is being built now. If you are a long-haul driver, a shift worker, a parent of young children running on minimal sleep, this law is meant for the most extreme cases, not for someone who yawned on the way to work. But it's a signal that the legal framework around impaired driving is expanding its definition, and staying informed about that expansion is part of being a responsible driver in 2026. Now let me give you a practical action plan. 5 concrete steps you can take right now. Step 1. Check your state's current hands-free law status and fine schedule. Laws.com, your state DMV website, and the Governor's Highway Safety Association all maintain updated state-by-state breakdowns. Spend 10 minutes this week. Know your state's specific rules. Step 2. If you're buying a new car in 2026, ask your dealer specifically about the passive alcohol detection system, what type it uses, how it's calibrated, and what the appeal or override process is if the system produces a false reading. This is a legitimate question, and any reputable dealer should be able to answer it. Step 3. If you're in California, inspect your license plate area today. Remove anything that wasn't part of your original vehicle registration. The $1,000 fine is not worth a tinted frame. Step 4. If you drive commercially or operate a fleet, schedule a compliance review with a qualified transportation attorney before the end of this quarter. The FMCSA updates have enough nuance that a general review is worth the investment. Step 5. Bookmark your state DMV's news page and set a calendar reminder to check it quarterly. Traffic laws change more frequently than most people realize, and the grace periods, as we've covered today, are getting shorter. Let me give you the broader context here, because these 10 changes don't exist in isolation. The federal government's position across the Infrastructure Act, NHTSA rulemaking, and FMCSA guidance is moving consistently in one direction, using technology to close the gap between what the law says and what can actually be enforced. For decades, traffic enforcement was constrained by the availability of officers, the limits of human observation, and the practical difficulty of prosecution. AI cameras, passive detection systems, and vehicle data recorders are systematically removing those constraints. That's not inherently good or bad, but it is a reality that requires drivers to update their mental model of what enforcement looks like. The assumption that I'll only get a ticket if a cop sees me is becoming increasingly outdated. In 2026, the road itself is watching. And here's the thing worth saying out loud before we close. Most of these laws exist because people died. The passive alcohol detection mandate exists because over 13,000 people are killed in drunk driving crashes every year in the United States. The school bus camera programs exist because children have been struck and killed by drivers who didn't stop. The drowsy driving enforcement push exists because families have lost people on highways at night to something entirely preventable. Driving is the most dangerous routine activity most of us do every day. These laws, even the ones that feel intrusive, even the ones that are still being calibrated, are, at their core, attempts to make that activity safer. Staying informed about them isn't just about avoiding fines, it's about being a driver who understands the road you're sharing with everyone else. If you want accurate, fast, and reliable updates on traffic laws, vehicle regulations, and road safety policy, subscribe to Raymond Crivello right now and turn on notifications. Laws are changing rapidly across every state, and staying informed is no longer optional, it's essential. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 10 laws you had no idea about before watching this video. Share this with someone you know who drives, because the person who needs this information most probably hasn't seen it yet. And if this video gave you something valuable, hit the like button. It helps this factual, research-based content reach more drivers who need it. I'll see you in the next one.